Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly break down how Barcelona overcame Getafe's pressing to move level at the top of the Liga table with Real Madrid. But before we do that, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. The bell below does give you daily notifications regarding our organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on our road to 3K subscribers. When we break down the game, when we do look at the board, we have Barcelona in a 4-3-3 with Messi, Griezmann, and Ansu Fati up front, whereas we have Getafe dropping off into more of a 4-4-2 without the ball. And what was interesting here was the manner in which Getafe did look to press from the front. What we end up seeing here is we have the strikers stepping to the center backs, and we have the wider players closing down Jordi Alba and Sergi Roberto. But what was interesting was that we did have Sergio Busquets, who was the spare man in midfield, given the fact that we did have Arambadi against Artur, and we also had Maximovic against De Jong. So that leaves Sergio Busquets as the spare man, and he was dropping off deeper, looking to get that ball in a 3v2 situation. Now, what we ended up seeing here from Getafe that was so successful is that initially we had Arambadi stepping forward to close down Sergio Busquets. So what you end up seeing here is that Barcelona often left the ball to Ter Stegen, and Ter Stegen did operate as the linchpin to try and get Barcelona out of that press. We saw him often play the ball into Griezmann on a few occasions, and he would drop off deeper with some pressure. There was one time where he did control the ball and didn't lead to much, and there was another time where he did shift it out to Ansu Fati, but that didn't lead to an initial break. But it showed that Griezmann was able to play as a natural center forward with his back to goal and help link play. So that was a positive thing for Barcelona. But nonetheless, when we do see them trying to get out of this press, what ended up happening here was that Getafe did a very good job. You have Anambari stepping to Busquets, you have De Jong closed down by Maximovic, and all they did here was that rather than pushing another man out of position to step to the spare Artur, they had Dejene, the center back, step forward to close down there. That would leave Etcheta with Griezmann, and then you have the fullback sticking tight on the wider players. So that's how they did look to close down from that avenue, because if they don't have the center back stepping forward, then you can't have Anambari push into the path of Busquets, and that is what their original base shape would be. Anambari and Maximovic sticking to Artur and De Jong, and then Busquets would be free in a 3v2. If you didn't have the center back stepping forward, we would end up seeing Arambari push into the path of Busquets, and then Atebo would be tasked with closing down Artur as he pinches a bit narrow. We didn't really see that much from him, and we saw it more from Cucurella, and we ended up seeing Cucurella have to do that job when we had Maximovic step into the path of Busquets. So it's the same kind of concept here. Maximovic steps into the path of Busquets. You end up having Etcheta push into the path of De Jong to ensure that Getafe close them down higher up the pitch. But if they don't have Etcheta stepping forward because perhaps Messi does drift a bit narrow, what you end up seeing there is that you have Cucurella stepping forward to close down his marker, and then if the ball gets shifted out into a wider position, Cucurella shifts over, and then you have Maximovic drop off back into his shape. And that was a real issue for Barcelona throughout that game. Getafe did a very good job of pressing higher up the pitch to close them down from that manner, and Barcelona had to find different avenues to bypass that press. The other avenue that we could see Getafe go about their pressing was dropping off into a 4-4-2, and we did see that on a few occasions, but that did help Barcelona push into good areas, because what they ended up doing was that they simply played balls over the top, and they were able to get Messi to good positions. Initially, we did have Busquets dropping in between Molina and Mata, and he located the run of Messi, and before Molina could step into his path, we saw Messi dart in between Etcheta and Oliveira to receive Busquets' pass over the top, and when he did bring it down to beat that offside trap, he was unable to chip the ball over Soria, and that attempt was saved. And there was another example in that half towards injury time where we had Artur slide the ball across Maximovic and Cucurella for Griezmann drifting out into that right channel. That forced Oliveira to step forward, and then we had Messi in more of a central position, peeling off Niam, and when Griezmann delivered that ball into the box, Messi was able to direct a header on goal, but Soria was able to push it away. So when we did have Getafe drop off in those two banks of four, it wasn't that Barcelona was creating an overwhelming overwhelming amount of chances, but they did have ways to play balls over the top to get Messi breaking in behind the defense. Nonetheless, when we look back to Barcelona, they were having issues building into good attacking zones. Yes, we did have Getafe's pressing that did play a key role, but when we do assess their overall shape, like I said, we had De Jong and Artur struggling to get the better of their men in that midfield area. And when we look at the front three, that was interesting because we had Messi in the earlier stages holding a wide position on that touchline, but when he did drift narrow, we had Oliveira and Echeta whenever they could step into challenges when Messi did try to receive the ball, and he was unable to link play with his teammates or create chances, and that forced him to drop off a bit deeper because he was being closed down very tightly in those avenues. We had Griezmann occupying the two center backs and looking to break him behind, but like I said, besides the link-up play, when they try to play through him, we didn't really see the best of Griezmann in that opening half. And then we also saw Ansu Fati adopting a narrow position ahead of Stegen, or sometimes he would hang wide against Neom. But when he did occupy that narrow position, that would encourage Jordi Alba, who was reluctant to push forward, to step into some good areas. But Atebo did a very good job of tracking those movements. However, once Jordi Alba was forced to leave due to an injury, we ended up seeing Junior Firpo come on, and Firpo did look to push higher. Nonetheless, it was uncertain as to whether Barcelona would be able to create chances through this Getafe press, and that was a key issue here. We obviously needed Messi to drop off a bit deeper to try and create an overload in those central areas, but we just needed a bit more from that front three. We knew what Fati wanted to do. Griezmann wasn't varying his movement much, and when Messi tried to drop off into key areas, he wasn't able to get away from Oliveira and Echeta. And when you look to Barcelona's best chances in that first half through the Getafe press, a lot of it stemmed through Messi in more of a deeper position, getting the better of his markers, and that's what Setien needed from his best player. Initially, what you end up seeing is Umtiti pushing forward beyond Mata into Getafe's half, and he ends up playing a reverse square pass in between Arambade and Maximovic for Messi dropping off of Echeta. When Messi drops off, he's able to flick the ball in between Echeta's legs for Griezmann running off Stegen, and when we have Griezmann breaking free in between that Oliveira and Stegen gap, he's able to break into that box and clip the ball over Soria. But in that moment, what you end up seeing there is you do have Umtiti being a bit brave with his ball possession, but he's able to find Messi dropping off a bit deeper. And that's the difference here. Messi's able to beat his man on the dribble, and he's able to provide those moments of brilliance to bypass his markers. And that was one example as to how they could get the better of Messi to bypass this Getafe press, and that flick into Griezmann making a quality run in behind was pivotal. And shortly after that, we ended up seeing another high press from Getafe. This time it was Molina stepping into the path of Piqué, and he slid the ball out into the path of Sergi Roberto, who was closed down by Cucurella. What we see here is Roberto's able to get the better of Cucurella and skip by him, and he plays the ball into Messi, dropping off ahead of Oliveira into his own half. So Messi receives that ball, and rather than spinning to his right, he spins towards his left to get away from Oliveira, and he's able to split Cucurella and Oliveira to find Roberto continuing his run. What we should also notify here is that we had Neom stepping into the path of Artur, so he was out of position, and we ended up seeing Roberto drive forward, slide the ball across Stegen into the path of Fati, but when Ansu Fati was breaking forward, Atebo did a very good job of tracking back to get the ball away from Ansu Fati to kill the play. But nonetheless, Getafe's high press was working so well, but what we end up seeing here is Messi just getting a bit more involved, dropping off a bit deeper, beating his marker in Oliveira, and then offsetting Sergio Roberto, who initially started the good wave of Barcelona's ability to bypass that press by winning its individual battle against Cucurella. And even when we look to the build-up to Barcelona's second goal, we have Sergio Roberto bypassing Cucurella and playing the ball into De Jong, and Cucurella does a very good job of tracking back to close him down, but he drops the ball off into the path of Messi, who is dragging out Oliveira and Echeta. So we have Messi spinning away on the outside, away from Oliveira and Echeta, and sliding the ball out to Sergio Roberto, who continues to break forward down that right channel. Roberto does pull the ball back to Griezmann ahead of the center backs, but once again, Griezmann receives it and drops it off to Messi, who again beats his marker in Maksimovic to slide it to Artur. And what we end up seeing here is we have Fati ahead of Etebo, who did track back, but we don't have anyone taking care of the overlapping run for Junior Firpo. So Firpo breaks into that left channel. We have Fati and we also have Griezmann darting at the center backs towards the box, and the ball pulled back across those forwards does fall into the path of Sergi Roberto, who gets away from Cucurella, not tracking him once again, and he fires a good low shot past the keeper. But even in that chance, we do have Roberto and De Jong doing a very good job, but it's Messi in that deeper zone, getting away from his markers and sliding his teammates into good areas, and he also beat Maksimovic after that. So what you can see here is that if you get Messi into those deeper zones, he's able to attract markers to him, but he's able to win those individual battles. And when he takes one or two players out of position, that does leave space for other Barcelona players to exploit, and that's what they needed here to bypass that press. However, Barcelona without the ball was often two banks of four, and it was man v man across the pitch, but they often led to their own downfalls. When we had Getafe getting into good areas where they possibly should have scored, or at the least test Ter Stegen, it stemmed from quick breaks. A Barcelona quick break that did fail ended up seeing Cucurella play a great ball around Sergi Roberto for Mata darting in between the center backs to receive it in left half space. So Mata does receive it and Piqué does try to recover to hold him off, but Mata can't get his shot off. And shortly after that, we end up seeing Busquets play a poor back pass beyond Umtiti for Molina that does set him free on goal into left half space, but Umtiti does well to track back and Molina hesitates, and Umtiti is able to get his foot into a Molina attempted shot that does go out for a corner kick. When you break down that first half as a whole, Getafe's high press was key, but when they dropped off deeper, Barcelona were able to bypass them over the top, and when Messi dropped off a bit deeper, he was able to win individual battles to get his teammates into good positions, whereas Getafe did offer Barcelona a few scares, and frankly, Barcelona just simply needed to sharpen up at the back. So when we do look to that second half, we didn't see much of a tactical shift in regards to the overall pattern from the first, but we did see Getafe turn to their bench instantly. We had Angel Rodriguez come on for Molina, and we also did see Kennedy come on for Oliveira, which pushed Cucurella into a left back zone. Getafe were able to get back into the game from a few Barcelona mistakes, and Fati loses the ball, which allows Maksimovic to split Fati and Artur, and then Etebo was able to bypass Firpo, which allowed Mata to get free down the right-hand side. And even though this was a great Angel Rodriguez finish, when we have Mata deliver the cross into the box, Piqué has to clear it and he lets it go over his head, and it was a superb finish that Ter Stegen couldn't save. And shortly after that, Ter Stegen was forced to make another wonderful save from an Arambari free kick, which ended up seeing Neon get across Roberto, and we also saw Angel Rodriguez get across Busquets to direct an effort on goal that was pushed away, and Ter Stegen did well to slap away the loose ball before Mata was able to tap it in. Nonetheless, the second half also saw more great play from Messi and variations in the way that Getafe pressed. Initially, what we ended up seeing there is that they allowed Busquets to drop off deeper to split the center backs, and they were focused on ensuring that the free men in midfield weren't able to get on the ball. We saw Messi drifting a bit central to occupy both center backs with Griezmann, and eventually we ended up seeing him drop off as deep as his own half to pick up the ball and push Barcelona forward. But even when Barcelona got that 3v2 in deeper positions, it did see them get into a few nervy moments. There was one where we had Busquets shifting out to the right of Piqué to get on the ball, and Etxeta was pushing forward, and eventually as Barcelona did probe around their box, Etxeta did push into the path of Busquets to win the ball and get fouled by Busquets, which eventually led to that chance that needed a Ter Stegen double save to ensure that Mata couldn't equalize. Nonetheless, when Getafe got back into their natural pressing, what we ended up seeing here was Barcelona finding holes. But when you break down that game as a whole, yes, it was nervy for Barcelona, and frankly, they should have killed off the game earlier, but Getafe's pressing did pose a few issues. Nonetheless, we did see Messi drop off into a deeper position to evade challenges and get get teammates into good positions. In the first half, that was pivotal to their success. And in the second half, we saw more of that left-hand side in Firpo and Ansu Fati, both getting chances to kill off the game. But even then, it stemmed through Messi. And when we look to Getafe, they did get into good positions based off of Barcelona's poor individual mistakes and positioning. But nonetheless, this was about Messi. This was about him getting the positions to bypass Getafe's press, and that was the key theme in this match. But let me know what you guys think. Should we see more of Messi dropping off into these positions? Can Setien find a system that allows him to ensure that Barcelona can avoid these issues? And what about Getafe? Do you think they'll finish in the top 4 this season? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And once again, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.